Charlotte, Gastonia,
Rock Hill,
Fort Mill, and surrounding areas. Historic moment happened today. For the first time in a decade, the Carolina Panthers lose to the Dallas Cowboys.
Out of all the teams to have your first loss to, man. Anybody.
34-28. That was final score, right? 34-28.
36-28.
36-28.
Yeah.
In a very, very interesting game.
Yeah, I think that's the PC way to say it, but yeah, very interesting game, to say the least.
A game that we were not favored to win in. Actually, Vegas had the spread, I think, at 4.5.
Interesting.
Very interesting. We were playing without Christian McCaffrey, playing without J.C. Horn.
No Justin Burris.
A.J. Bouye made his first appearance, as did the Panthers' newly acquired cornerback C.J. Henderson. I don't know how I feel about this game.
I'm all over the place, man.
Because I thought I would during the whole week. First of all, it's been just a terrible week in general.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking through the whole week, man, the Cowboys can't beat the Panthers.
Right.
Just because of where we live. Isn't that weird? We live in Charlotte.
We live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're worried about Cowboys fans in our city. Yeah.
But and throughout the week, so much disrespect for the Panthers.
Yeah.
So much disrespect. Who have they played? Like as if Dallas has played anybody.
Right.
Who have they played? I don't know. The Cowboys are just gonna dominate and control. And none of that happened, actually. There was a very brief period in which the Cowboys did dominate and control.
Yeah, for one quarter they did.
And that was essentially the game. But the Panthers, put up their big boy pants and marched down the field and made it a game.
Let me look. I feel sick saying this because it's against the Cowboys, but I have to say, man, you got to admire the fight in the fourth quarter.
Yes,
you have to.
They did not give up
because I checked out. I'm not gonna lie. I checked out.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean, who really thought the Panthers were gonna come down back from 3 touchdowns? And they didn't. But especially it was the way they went down 3 touchdowns. Right. Sam Darnold throws 2 picks. One was really bad. The other,
it was a great play by their corner.
Well, yeah, and he had about 4 or 5 D linemen in his face.
We're going to talk a lot more.
We'll talk about that. But but Sam Darnold comes down, he scores 2 touchdowns, and we will, 1 first down away from winning. We will also talk about that fumble that wasn't called, man, that
dude
essentially gifted Dallas a free touchdown. Anthony Badillo says he thinks our coaching staff cost us a lot in the game. I agree with that.
I agree with that.
I think Phil Sano got out-coached. But Jamaal, go ahead. What are your general thoughts about the game?
So, unfortunately, Sam Darnold has really kind of overachieved with our offensive line.
Yeah.
Even in wins, he's kind of outperformed what he has working for him with his offensive line. I have to give credit where credit is due. Dallas Cowboys defensive line, they are the best D line that we have faced this season, and they showed that this offensive line is going to be. It's going to be on weak point. It's our weak point right now, man. And I mentioned last week how Sam Darnold was under pressure a lot, how he was throwing in very tight windows last week. Those windows closed up a lot today. 2 interceptions. I mean, he had a couple that were almost picked off, but didn't get picked off. You know what I mean? And that is the symptom of not being protected. You're constantly on the run. You're constantly throwing to your hot read before you want to. You're constantly getting the ball out faster than you want to, and it showed itself. With that being said, with that disastrous third quarter, I like the fight. I really, really admire the fight because we haven't seen this kind of test yet.
Right.
And I think we didn't win the game, but you look at that fourth quarter, man, it's just like. I feel a lot better about this than I thought I would. Because, I hate the Cowboys. We know this. But I feel a lot better about this loss than I thought I would, honestly, man.
Yeah, I tell you why. I don't feel like, from a talent standpoint, there's a big gap.
I don't think it's a big gap.
Chris
man.
McCaffrey and J.C. Horn in this game. I mean, just think about it. We lost by one score without our best.
So people are going to say, "Oh, don't start blaming the injuries and making excuses," but they're valid. I'm going to tell you why. Look at the secondary play in that third quarter, and tell me we didn't miss Justin Burris and J.C. Horn, man.
Yeah. I also, I kind of think that the Panthers went away from the run too early. Mm-hmm. They didn't have enough confidence in Chuba. And the thing is there were some decisions that he made that were not good. There was a zone sweep that he misread. He should have cut it to the inside because the outside took a loss. And but I felt like he did a pretty good job running the ball. And I think that they felt that, okay, so coming into this game, Dallas had the worst pass defense in the league.
Right.
The worst, number 32.
Right.
And I think the Panthers felt like they could test that. The problem is that when you're doing that from playing from behind,
it makes a difference.
It makes a difference because then the D lineman can just rush guys.
I mean, it's funny you're mentioning that now because as you're talking through this, man, it all kind of makes sense. You're playing from behind, so you just mentioned we kind of gave up on running the ball. So what do the Cowboys D-line do? They just pinning their ears back. And not only are they pinning their ears back, they're sending more blitzes. You see how aggressive Dan Quinn got probably, I'd say, halfway through the second quarter all the way up to the fourth quarter? They kind of look like us.
Conversely, what did we do defensively? We backed off. Which I don't understand why. Phil Snow does that from time to time.
But why does it seem like it's every third quarter? Why?
Okay, so here's
this is just me.
The past two seasons, it was the Panthers could never get out to a good start, and we always had to come back and play from behind and win.
Right.
This season, it's we get off to a good start, and then what ends up happening is the other team. This has actually happened in week 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. The opposing team makes halftime adjustments, and then our coaching staff can never make the proper in-game adjustments until it's too late.
Right.
Now, in the other games, we have built up such a lead to where it didn't matter. But we weren't playing from behind. I mean, we were leading by one at the half. But Dallas made the correct adjustment. All week, there were a lot of people that have been analyzing the Carolina Panthers defense and saying, you can run on them, just run it right up the middle.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Go ahead.
Just let Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick fly by
you
and go right up the middle. Yeah. You double team Derek Brown and you're going to get yards. And that's exactly what Dallas did. They went away from that. Carolina took the lead. Yep. And then how did they start the third quarter? The first play of the third quarter, they ran it right up the middle and Ezekiel Elliott gets 12 yards.
Speaking of that, man, that's what I'm most disappointed in today. That run defense. This is the same team that held Alvin Kamara to 5 yards. And now Zeke looks like 2016 Zeke. What's up with that, man? What do you think that is?
Dallas has a good offensive line, and like I said, they just game planned. Hey, we're not gonna do like the Jets and the Saints did. First of all, Alvin Kamara is not really.
He's not a north south.
Right. He's gonna try and press the edges, which is not gonna work against Carolina. Right. The linebackers are too fast. The defensive ends are too good at sealing the edge.
And I think it's worth mentioning Hassan Reddick missed some snaps in the third quarter too.
And so did Shaq Thompson.
Yeah.
So Dallas said, okay, we're just not going to run towards their best. Why would we run towards their best players?
Common sense.
Exactly. We're just going to, seal the gaps. We're not going to let Carolina likes to cheat the gaps a lot. They weren't able to do that today because the Cowboys had a good plan rushing the football. Yeah. We're going to just run it right at you. And I felt like it wasn't that from a personnel standpoint, we couldn't stop it. I just feel like we didn't have the game plan in place.
So, I mean, so are you saying that you don't necessarily think we got out physicaled? It's more game plan than it was this mono.
The only person,
you know what I'm saying?
Only person got out physical was Matt Paradise.
Matt Paradise, thank you. Yes.
Michael Parsons is a really good linebacker. In fact, we
were both high on Parsons before the draft.
That was the guy we wanted the Panthers to draft. But you trying to tell me that your center can't stop? Okay, Luke Kuechly is one of the best middle linebackers of his generation. But you put a center on him.
Right.
And
it should be a mismatch for
that should be a mismatch. Yeah, the center should be able to hold the block against a blitzing middle linebacker. Matt Paradis got wiped out of the play
a couple of times
by Micah Parsons and
Randy Gregory.
Just shoved him out of the way.
Right.
And
Paradise had a bad day, man.
Bad game. We knew the offensive line was a weakness. It just really offensively it reared its ugly head today. But I really don't feel like that was the reason why the Panthers lost.
Mm-hmm. What do you think was the seminal reason we lost? Me, I think it was pass protection, man, honestly.
I think we got game planned.
Okay. We got you coaching.
Coaching, yeah. It was a dead even game going into the third quarter.
Right.
You tell any team in the NFL, hey, we're gonna give you 0-0 at halftime. You want to take it? They'll take it.
I'll tell you what though. On the road, by the way, and I tell you what I noticed, man. I'm gonna kind of allude to your point. When the Cowboys got more aggressive and they're sending blitzes as we were in the first half. I noticed that the play calling was it was kind of vanilla because if you're getting heat 50% of the time, why are you just dropping back 50% of the time? I didn't see a lot of creativity. There were no dump offs, no screen plays. There was nothing to counteract that heat coming towards you. You know what I mean?
Willie Smith says he wants people to stop hyping Joe Brady for a coaching job. I 100% agree.
Kind of agree with that.
I 100%
because it's been inconsistent at best this season so far.
I don't see anything. It's funny. We talked about this the last 2 weeks. I don't see anything from – okay, it's week 4. Okay, you don't have to run your vanilla-based offenses so that you don't give up film. But I didn't see anything that made me say, man, that was a great play call.
Yeah, right.
All of the best plays were just either – something that DJ Moore did or something that Sam Darnold did or something that somebody else did. For instance, when Amari Cooper went out, I'm sorry, not Amari Cooper. I can't remember the Cowboys cornerback who essentially after they were up 3 touchdowns, they sat him,
which was puzzling because it wasn't an injury.
That they felt like that was a huge gamble by Mike McCarthy to sit one of your best defenders because you don't think that the other team is going to come back from 3 touchdowns down. But having said that, the Panthers did not go to his side of the field enough.
Right.
Now, granted, we scored 2 touchdowns.
Right.
But we missed Robbie Anderson Sam Darnold missed Robbie Anderson on 2 big plays. And I just feel like, okay, this is the league's worst passing defense and one of their best players is on the bench. You take advantage of that.
You take advantage of that all day.
And I feel like the Panthers didn't. Even Greg Olsen said during the broadcast, he did a great job in the booth, by the way.
Greg Olsen is a natural, by the way, man.
But there was no urgency.
Yeah.
There was like 6 minutes left in the third, and, the Panthers are just kind of –
Let me explain the contrast between probably what me and you both saw in the third and fourth quarter, okay? Third quarter – the worst quarter in the season by far. You agree? Right?
Oh, easily.
Right? Okay. You look at the start of the fourth quarter. What happens? We go on this methodical drive that scores us a touchdown. And when we do the next drive, methodical drive. We weren't just sitting back in the pockets. Darnold wasn't just looking for the deep guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was short little dump offs. It was screen passes. It was pitch outs for running plays. There was some variety in the play calling in the in the fourth quarter. Again, man, just I'm speaking more to your point about coaching. It's just like I just don't understand where our head is.
Yeah, I feel like if you get 28 points in the NFL, you should win. If you get 28 points and you don't win, then you got to look at the defense.
Yeah.
And I understand because Cowboys fans are going to say, well, the Cowboys backed off at the end, which after Danny Thompson, I know you're in the chat, after what happened 3 years ago in the Super Bowl, I don't think NFL teams are
no
want to do that anymore.
Right.
You don't back off.
Right. No.
You don't back off. So I'm not buying that.
I'm not buying that either. No.
I don't think the from a play calling standpoint, the Cowboys backed off. They were still blitzing Darnold.
Right.
It's just the Panthers showed some grit, and we had some good play calling from Joe Brady on those 2 drives.
It's almost like if we had one more possession. If
they had gotten the ball back,
hint, hint, wink, wink. If we had one more possession.
So let's just talk about that. Okay, so I don't like to blame the refs. I feel like NFL referees are either incompetent or corrupt. I know which way I'm going. I actually think NFL refs are incompetent. I think NBA refs are corrupt, but that's another discussion. But that was maybe one of the worst calls I've seen from a ref against Carolina Panthers.
It's easily the worst call I've ever seen.
I mean, you hit stick a guy, the ball flies out, and you give him forward progress.
Listen, one of those angles showed the ball clearly being out, and I've never seen forward progress be called so quickly.
Yeah, on a hit.
On a hit. You know what I mean?
It's, typically you see forward progress if it's like a gang tackle. And everyone's, pulling the guy back, and then they blow the whistle and they say forward progress. Right. Because sometimes the ball pops out then, and they say, okay, no, forward progress.
Right.
That wasn't this case.
That wasn't the case, man.
He took a shot to the chest. The ball pops out.
How do you even have time to call forward progress?
I don't know. And that was such a huge play because if the Panthers get the ball back, because now they're on the Cowboys side of the field,
right.
they could possibly score 14-0. Instead,
you know how. And we see this in basketball a lot too, but you notice how when there's a bad call and the commentators, they try their best to kind of stay out of it and just be objective as they can.
Yeah.
Like, hey, they might say something like, hey, he might have missed one there or something like that. Greg Olsen just flat out and came out and said, how was that for progress?
Yeah, that was probably the only time Greg Olsen turned into a homer during the broadcast. Right. A lot of these commentators. This one thing I loved and hated about Greg Olsen. Guys like if Troy Aikman, for instance, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, because they do a lot of Panthers broadcasts.
Yeah.
Oh, they would have been all over how great the Cowboys were. Greg Olsen, clearly, he's a Carolina fan still,
right?
But he didn't let that show during the broadcast.
He was a professional,
except during that play. That was just a really, really big play, and I kind of think that players, those bad calls affect players because that sets the tone for how the refs are going to call the game.
Yeah, right.
And if you're like, well, holy shit, I can't even hit stick a guy because they're going to give him forward progress.
And look, man, I don't want to go into Homerville and start blaming the refs entirely for the loss, man. But that wasn't the only missed call. I'll just keep it at that. I don't want to go.
A lot of holding. Now I try not to. Holding is iffy because you can call holding.
People say you can call it every down if you want
every
to.
Play. I see the Panthers hold a lot. I see teams hold a lot, but a lot of those big gaps that Ezekiel Elliott was getting, I was like, yo, you didn't see him just tackle that dude, or you didn't see him grabbing his shoulder pads. But I felt like the defenseless receiver hit was kind of a makeup call,
right?
Late in the game. Refs do makeup calls. They say they don't, but they do.
But they do.
And I think they was like, man, we got to try and find a way to make up for that terrible call.
Now there is one thing that I do want to talk about a little more, man. What is up with these 12 men on the field penalties in these critical spots of this game, man? Like, that is unacceptable, man.
That's on Coach Rule.
It's on Rule, and Rule was
one. He caused one of them.
He caused one of them.
Now,
right.
Granted, one of those worked out or could have worked out for the Panthers because it made Dallas go for 2 and they didn't get it. But yeah, 12 men on the field penalties, that's always on the coach.
But and not only just that, but they were in really critical spots of this game. I mean, one of them was on the third down. You cut it from third and 8 to 3rd and 3, and then they get the first down. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we got out-coached this game. Yeah.
And from the head coach to the offensive coordinator to the defense coordinator, we couldn't make the proper in-game adjustments like Dallas did. I'm sorry, you don't go from what's essentially a tie game at the half,
right,
to going 3 touchdowns.
So let me ask you
the very next quarter.
So let me ask you a question, man. You chalk it up to inexperience because I mean, let's.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Mike McCarthy and James Quinn they've been around the block.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl as a head coach. Dan Quinn's won a Super Bowl as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Been
to a Super Bowl as a head coach. Yeah. Been to another one as a defensive coordinator.
Hey, look,
you Phil Snow, Dan Quinn.
Right.
I mean, come on now.
Right. Right. And you got to give credit where credit is due, man. I mean, again, Dan Quinn called a hell of a game today, man. I mean, except for the fourth quarter when we kind of made our adjustments and we kind of made it a game. But for the majority of the game, man, I got to give him his props, dude.
Okay, so Sam Darnold, 3 consecutive 300-yard games.
Despite this O-line, please make sure we say that.
How do we feel about him now? Because he had 2 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns.
You mean Sam Newton had 2?
Sam Newton. I'm just going to say, I was going to order a Sam Darnold jersey. I'm going to take my Cam jersey and just white out the Newton and put Darnold on the back. He was 26 for 39. I mean, despite getting sacked 5 times, how do we feel about Sam Darnold and his performance today? Because the whole game, and this is probably just how I'm going to be all season, I'm thinking, what would Teddy have done? Because now,
let me answer that real quick. Teddy doesn't keep that defense honest. What I mean by that is you can't dink and dunk against them the entire game.
That's true.
Right. So I'll answer that really quickly.
Darnold took some shots downfield, particularly on that 4th down.
Yeah,
that was gutsy. You get 54 yards out of a 4th down on a shot that you took downfield. It wasn't a dink. It was the open guy.
Yeah, right.
He was like, that guy's open. I'm going to give him the ball. I know it's only week 4, but have we found our QB?
I think so. Because I'm not going to – I mean, what's funny is you look at this as his worst performance, but considering the circumstances in the game and the team –
I didn't even think it was that bad of a performance.
But that's my point. It's not even that bad of a performance.
The 2 interceptions were devastating. Let me talk about those for a minute. The first interception was particularly bad because he got tricked into something that
cover tricked him.
Well, yeah, the cover tricked him. They did something that we do. The Cowboys did. They stacked a bunch of people in all the gaps and then just said, okay, guys are coming, but you don't know who. Right. Linebacker drops back, and that was what Darnold thought the hot read was.
And Terrace Marshall was wide open on that play.
Wide open
down the field on that play.
The second pick was a combination of the O-line was in his – O-line got pushed back.
Right, D-line in
his face.
Yeah.
He tries to throw – a check down, really good coverage on the check down. Yeah. They decided they were going to sit on the routes, and they did. It was a good interception. I don't think Darnold had a bad game per se.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I feel the same way, man. I don't feel any differently than what I felt about in the first 3 weeks, man. Because the thing is, I keep banging this drum. Even today, even with him throwing 2 picks, I think is still outperforming his offensive line.
Oh, definitely.
Not only did the offensive line not block very well, Cam Irvin committed some idiotic penalties, man. There was some false starts. There were some holding calls, man. Just the offensive line just doesn't seem in sync, and they're not playing together. Even Taylor Moton is not playing that well right now. Man.
None of the guys on the offensive line are playing of note. They're getting shoved back by smaller guys. We know this is a bad O-line, and a lot of people said last season with Bridgewater. Well, anybody would struggle under that O-line, which I don't completely disagree. But now without Christian McCaffrey, Sam Darnold essentially has the same offense Teddy Bridgewater had.
Right.
I mean, almost the exact same offense, except, in fact, instead of Mike Davis got Chuba. Mm-hmm. So now he's got a rookie that he's got to depend on.
Right. I said last week, what would be important is that Darnold doesn't have like a safety net. And what I mean by that, we saw all these blitzes coming our way today, and there's no Dan Arnold, running like these 2-3 yard outs or drag routes, whatever. There's no Christian McCaffrey waiting in the slot. You know what I mean? And I think that made a difference today.
Well, I thought about that. How much of an impact would Dan Arnold not being there make?
Right.
And I think what the Panthers said, they said, okay, we can just slot Ian Thomas into that role. And they still have Tommy Tremble, who I think
me and you both agree with this.
Yeah.
Ian Thomas, Dan Arnold.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
I didn't feel now. One of our commenters says that John Miller whiffed on a block or screen and it made Ian Thomas lose yards. That is true.
That's true, right?
But I just don't feel like Ian Thomas is that guy. I know he's actually a really good blocker,
right?
But I'd rather have Tommy Tremble playing that spot.
We've seen this before, where there's talent guys. There's guys who have all the physical traits you want. You know, the combine guys.
Right.
Ian Thomas is a combine guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like.
And this is what? This is his fourth?
This is his fourth year, man.
Season? Yeah.
He's kind of gotten a long leash than you would expect. You know what I mean?
I would expect by your fourth season, now to put this into perspective, I don't want to compare Ian Thomas to Greg Olsen.
Right.
But Greg Olsen came to us in his fourth season.
Right.
And
it was all pro.
Yeah, look at the season he had when he got traded from Chicago to Carolina. I would expect some kind of now I understand that the Panthers have gone through multiple offensive coordinators and 2 different head coaches in that time period. But I don't think Ian Thomas has developed enough for me to say, yep, he's the guy.
Yeah.
There's some deficiency at tight end, but I like what I see from Tommy Tremble every time he catches the ball.
Right.
So I'm kind of hoping the Panthers give him more opportunity.
We've been banging that drum for the last 2 or 3 weeks, man. It was a play where I kind of scratched my head, man. They said Tommy Tremble on a straight streak. It was a deep route, and he had 2 guys on. I'm just looking like,
and Donald threw it, and it was incomplete. But I thought, 1, why that play? 2, why that throw?
Right.
Okay, if you want to run Tremble on a streak in order to get him to pull the coverage
as a decoy,
yeah, okay, that's fine. But that was a bad decision.
That was a head scratcher, man. Yeah. I didn't. And that's not the way I want the Panthers to use Tremble.
Yeah. Also, I mean, Dak Prescott didn't get sacked once.
That is surprising.
Now, we knew that Prescott was going to get the ball out quickly.
Right.
That was going to be the key. Get the ball out fast. And I feel like he got lucky some in the first quarter. Mm. That, he got sacked and he flipped the ball up.
Yeah.
And, there was some luck there. But do you think that was game plan? Is Dallas's O-line that much better than our defensive line? Or did we just not have a good...
I think it's a little bit of both. You know how sometimes, man, you just don't get home. You pressure the QB a lot, but you just don't get home.
Right.
I think we pressured him enough, but if you don't get home on a guy like Prescott, he's going to eat you alive, man. And I think the offensive line is just damn good. Zach Martin is dude is a beast, man. Zach Martin is a monster. So you got to give credit where credit's due with their offensive line as well, man. So I just think it was kind of a combination of a lot of things, man. And plus, it doesn't help that in that third quarter we stopped bringing blitzes. That definitely doesn't help either. So
yeah, I'm not that happy about the way the play calling went in that third quarter. We just didn't make the proper adjustment. Going into halftime. You feel like, okay, Dallas is going to make an adjustment. And then you figure that, because I thought, well, they're going to come out and they're going to start running the ball back down the middle because that's what got them success in the first quarter.
Right.
And so surely, I'll be honest, the Panthers were scared to stack the box against Dak Prescott. Screw that. Dak Prescott only threw 22 times. He was 14 for 22 for 188 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. No sacks. Now, and
he had to throw the perfect pass to get that that touchdown.
Don't get me wrong. He played a good game, but he didn't really have to do all that much.
Right.
Ezekiel Elliott did all the work. 20 rushes for 143 yards and a touchdown.
I didn't see that coming. I'm sorry, man.
No, I didn't see it either. Coming. But the first 3 weeks, the Panthers were stacking the boxes against the run, and I guess they felt like, okay, we don't want to do that because we'll take our chances with our front 7 straight up.
Right.
But I feel like in the third quarter, you dispense with that. You say, okay.
But that makes it exponentially more important when you kind of have, AJ Boye's, this is his first game. This is CJ Henderson's first game. Justin Burris is out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's
I understand, but I feel like at that point you have to do something.
yeah.
You can't. I mean, you look at the stats from the first half. The Cowboys had already rushed for 150 yards in the first half, despite the fact that we were leading by 1.
Yeah.
And I think if you look, and I don't think as a coach you can say that you're good with that at the half. That you're okay.
Nobody's good with
Ezekiel Elliott.
No.
Running for it or
Anybody.
Right. So I think at that point you say, okay, we're going to stop the run because that's what Dallas likes to do. Bill Belichick would have said, okay, we're stopping the run. I don't care what it takes.
I don't care what it takes.
I'm okay with that.
You take away their strength. Right. You make them beat you another way.
I'm okay with Dak Prescott, having a 300-yard, 4-touchdown game.
Right.
If we take away what the Cowboys do best.
Right.
And we lose, and then we just lose.
Right.
But we didn't do that.
We didn't do that. We kind of played scared.
We played scared.
We played scared. Now it's hot take time. Because if you were on Twitter, you might have seen the overreactions and the hot takes just running rampant today.
I did not.
So I'll catch you up to speed, sir. Question number 1. Considering where the Panthers are in the quote-unquote rebuild, I know we hate that word, okay? Is it okay to lose today?
Okay, I'll say this. Yeah, actually, yes. I thought about this during the game. Both the Cowboys are in a rebuild too, actually. But they're much further along in their rebuild.
We're probably a good full season ahead.
Right, and don't forget, none of us picked the Panthers to have better than a 1-game over 500 season.
Right.
So they're a little better than we all expected.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we did say there was a possibility the Panthers could go 4-0 the first 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ultimately we thought if they did, they would come back down to earth. And so, yeah, they're already ahead of schedule.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, here's how I look at it. Look how good they are right now. Imagine how much better they're going to be with another season of experienced coaching.
Right.
Everyone on the team is going to develop and presumably get better. Of course, they're going to address the offensive line because the defense is set. They've addressed the defense the last 2 drafts.
Right.
Now you say, okay, now we need an O-line. We got to protect McCaffrey. We got to protect Sam Darnold.
Can I tell you what I'm worried about? I've always said that our offensive line deficiencies are not for lack of trying. You know what I mean? I feel like we've tried to address those and it just haven't worked out. I don't know how long or how much that's going to continue, man. But I think the next time we try to address that, we got to hit a home run. You know what I mean?
Well, we talked about this last week. Offensive line is just tough to address. And you look at teams that have great offensive lines. How do they build them? Through the draft. Through the draft or trades to get solid pieces and then develop them.
Right.
So bringing free agent offensive linemen almost never works. It just almost never does because it takes time for offensive linemen to kind of gel and it's just one of those things. It's going to be tough for us to feel. I don't know how the Panthers are going to address that. Are they going to draft nothing but offensive linemen the next draft?
I think that's really risky, but I hope not.
So I don't really know how the Panthers shore that up.
All right, I got a ridiculous hot take I saw on Twitter, man. I want to share. I kind of hate doing this, but it has to be mentioned. Has Brandon Zylstra produced more than Robbie Anderson this season? If so, why?
That's a ridiculous hot take. Brandon Zylstra has done exactly what you expect a player like Brandon Zylstra to do.
Go ahead.
You come in, you make big plays when your number is called.
In the slot. Because nobody's paying attention to you.
Exactly.
Right.
You think the Cowboys aren't shading coverage, especially on the reason he got 54 yards on that play.
Right.
Was because the Cowboys were not going to let DJ Moore.
Their safety help was on the other guy.
And they were not going to let Robbie Anderson get open. The reason Robbie Anderson hasn't produced this season is just because teams are trying to game plan for him.
Right.
They're shading coverage over. Plus, the Panthers are kind of using him to try and blow the top off the defense. The Cowboys sat in a deep shell a lot in the second half. They were not going to let Robbie Anderson get past him. And the 2 times he did, Sam Darnold just wasn't able to find him. So I'm not buying the whole Zylstra has outproduced Robbie Anderson. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Fans can get on my nerves sometimes because I was, there are some fans who are out there like, well, Sam Darnold's who we thought he was. Really? After one game, really?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? So he's Jets Sam Darnold all of a sudden? Really? Like, come on, man.
Did he ever throw 300-yard games when he played for the Jets?
I say all this to say, fans, we cannot overreact off of one loss. It is a long season, man. We got 12 more of these things. 15. I'm sorry. 13 more of these things to go. I forget about we playing 17 now. So calm down, y'all. If I'm saying this,
yeah. And I thought, man, people are going to there's going to be a new narrative about Sam Darnold after this game, but he wasn't the reason that we lost. I
can't put this on him, man.
Not him solely.
No.
This was a collective team thing. But I'm going to put a lot on the coaches, and he performed how I would expect any quarterback who was constantly under pressure to perform. Dak Prescott was not constantly under pressure. Sam Darnold was constantly under duress. He still threw 72% for 300 yards and made 4 touchdowns. He did not pat. Now 2 of those were rushing touchdowns, but 6 points is 6 points. I don't care how you get it.
Right.
So and he got sacked 5 times. What do you expect? What was everyone expecting from Sam Darnold?
And on top of that, man, we may mention last week how Sam Darnold showed some grit. When they were faced with a little bit of adversity in that Texans game. He showed the same grit today, man. Now, it didn't turn out like we wanted it to, but that same guy carried over from this week, man. So I don't get it, dude. It's a tad bit overreactive to put this loss on Sam Darnold. I think that's putting it nicely.
Yeah. It's like someone said in the chat, we couldn't stop the run. That was it.
Come on, man.
Yeah, the Cowboys said, what do the Panthers do best? Stop the run.
Stop the run.
Okay, we're gonna figure out how
they won right at that game.
Yep.
Man.
They said, okay, we're gonna test
literally.
that. And how will the Panthers respond to this loss? I mean, I think we bounce back.
I think we bounce back.
The schedule is the hardest game that we've had so far,
right.
and I don't think the Panthers showed that they weren't at that level.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not going to compete for the NFC Championship this season, but I don't think they're pushovers either.
Right, absolutely.
They get Philly next, who is not as good as the Cowboys.
Right.
I'll just put it like that.
Right.
And then
at home, and we're at home. Yeah.
I think they have another slate of kind of, I don't want to say easy games, but like they can afford to sit Christian McCaffrey like 2 more weeks.
Right.
I'll just put it that way.
So with that being said, man, we ready for predictions for next week?
Actually, hold up. Offensive, defensive MVPs.
All right. Yeah. Offensive MVP. I'm gonna go with DJ Moore.
Oh, easy choice.
Yeah, DJ Moore,
8 catches for 113 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, done.
On 12 targets. I don't think there's any question.
Yeah, DJ Moore looked like Smitty Jr. today.
But the tough one, throughout the game, I was thinking, ooh, DJ Moore, he might be the next Steve Smith. So I can't see it, but behind me is like a shrine to Steve Smith. I love Steve Smith. He's one of my favorite NFL players ever. And I'm saying, when I look at DJ Moore,
you see a lot of
I
them.
see Smitty.
Maybe not the fire, maybe not the theatrics, so to speak.
I don't know if he's as tough as Steve Smith.
Right.
Steve Smith was a tough guy.
Yeah.
I don't know if DJ Moore is a tough guy. He may not need to be. But there's a lot in his game that reminds me of Steve Smith. But
absolutely.
The tough one is going to be defensive MVP.
I might need a minute to think about that one, man.
I'm going to say Shaq Thompson.
I'm going to say Shaq Thompson, but I'm going to solely base it on the first half, honestly. I think he played lights out in the first half.
Shaq Thompson is finally turning into the player that...
a leader. Let's make sure we don't leave that part out.
We talked a lot of smack about Shaq Thompson last season and in the offseason, and I got to take it all back. I feel like these first 4 games, he has not only just produced, but they were calling him in the broadcast the best player on the defense, which... I don't disagree, but I don't know if that's completely true.
Right.
I might would say Brian Burns, and you could even say Hassan Reddick.
Yeah.
But clearly, Shaq Thompson is the linchpin of that defense.
Absolutely.
When he went out of the game, the Cowboys' eyes lit up. You could see it. They were like, "Oh, thank God!" And we don't have to worry about the run game. And boy, did he have a good stick in the backfield a few times. Yeah, Dante had a good game too. Yeah, good call, Anthony. I feel like CeeDee Lamb's a tough cover.
He is. Yeah,
and I feel like Dante did. In fact, they went away from that side of the field, and so we're going to target the new guys.
Yeah,
which
was a smart.
With Amari Cooper, who was slightly hobbled, they still threw away from Dante Jackson.
Dante Jackson got he got the wrong end of a real bad PI call too, man. But whatever, man.
I just. By the way, refs are so inconsistent on that hooking around the back PI because late in the game, one of the Cowboys defenders did it, and they
did the same thing, and they didn't call it. Right.
And I think that should be a PI if you hook someone around the back and they come across. But you got to call it every time, right? Because when they threw the flag on Dante, I thought, oh hell, okay, they're gonna call it. But then they call it late on the Cowboys. I'm like, what the hell?
Right.
Okay, predictions for next week. Upcoming, actually. I'll do you one better. Next 4. Eagles, Vikings, Giants, Falcons.
Ooh.
Do we lose any of those games?
If we lose any of them, Vikings.
Vikings. Yeah. And that's only because something crazy always happens.
Every time, right?
With the Vikings. Every time we play them. Here's what's going to be strange. If the Panthers win those 4 games, they'll be 7-1. What will everyone say then? And then I predict them to go 9-8. If they're 7-1 after 4 more weeks, I can throw that prediction out.
I think all of us can at that point. But I think we all agree, man. They got a really good shot at winning all 4 of those games, barring injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, seriously.
I don't think. I think Philly's gonna put up a good fight, but I don't trust. If I'm a Philly fan, I don't trust Jalen Hurts.
I don't trust Hurts, man. He ain't so many things
against Carolina's because I tell you this much, they gonna be. That pass rush is going to be hungry next week.
They're going to be hungry next week.
They're like, we didn't get no sacks. Everyone's, the narrative this week is going to be the Panthers are who we thought they were.
Right.
They're going to, I'm going to say next week, Panthers bounce back 24-14.
I'm going to go a little more higher scoring. I think we bounce back, but I say 32-24 us. Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
That's
I'll tell you a trap game in that next 4. But you won't believe me when I say this.
Giants.
I think the Giants are a trap game, man.
Yeah. By the way, the Giants did end up beating the Saints.
They beat the Saints today.
Which this is interesting. There's an extra playoff slot now. That means that you're going to get 3 wild card teams essentially. Does anyone really think the Panthers won't be one of those 3 wild card teams?
At this point, you can't say that. I don't see how anybody can say that right now, man. Especially looking at these next 4 games coming up. You come out of this 2-2 at worst. At worst.
Yeah, absolutely. At worst. I think if we maintain, if the Panthers come out of this 6-2, let's say, I think they'll take one of those wild card slots, and they'll probably win more than 9 games, maybe 10 or 11. In which some people would see that as bad because that might slow down the rebuild because we don't get as high of a draft pick. But in the NFL, that doesn't matter as much. Right. I mean, same. DJ Moore was number 22.
Yeah.
So
it's all about picking the right guy at the right spot.
Picking the right guy for your system, NFL is a lot different than the NBA. So, and plus, these guys got to get used to you. In the NFL, you got to be able to produce big time.
Yeah.
Games like today. Right. Although it wasn't quite like a playoff atmosphere, but this was a tough game. The Panthers show a little bit of grit.
I mean, think about it though. We're a really young team. You go on the road to Big D.
I love the Panthers to get into the playoffs, even if they lose, even if they don't have a chance, just get in the playoffs and experience.
So you're not on tankathon. You're not losing for Hydra.
Oh no. Well, I mean, if the time to tank was last season,
that was sarcasm, by the way.
Yeah, the time to tank was last season, and Trevor Lawrence is in Jacksonville. Right. So there's that. So I have faith in the Panthers. This is a blip. The only bad thing about this loss is that it was the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So
we gotta sit in that for a whole week.
For a whole week. But the Falcons lost. Sorry, Danny.
Yeah.
They blew a lead
again to the football team.
Yep, to the football team. Ron Rivera loves beating up on the Falcons. I swear, man.
Love it.
And the Saints lost too, which I'll be honest. As much as I hate the Saints, I hate them more. I don't really hate the Falcons. I hate the Saints. But the narrative was always that, well, when the Panthers beat the Saints, there was like a list of excuses.
Right,
Maybe the Saints just weren't that good.
Right. The Saints didn't have their coaches. They're injured. Blah, blah, blah.
So what are they going to say? I mean, the Giants, the New York Giants, they were 0-3.
In New Orleans.
In the Dome.
In the Dome.
The first game back.
Because Jameis says that, hey, those fans are they're not going to be like Panthers fans. They're going to be loud. And this is environment.
God, I cannot wait to play the Saints again. In the Dome. I cannot wait.
It's circled on the calendar.
Yes,
I can't wait, bro.
We do need mac and cheese to beat Tom Brady tonight. But
listen,
that won't happen.
That's not happening. Sorry.
It's funny when they let Cam Newton go. When the Patriots let Cam Newton go, I remember saying in one of the many NFL groups we're in, "Oh, that'll be an easy win for Carolina in Week 9," and everyone laughed at me. It was a bunch of laugh reacts. I cannot wait until Week 9 when we hang like 10 sacks on Mac Jones. That's going to be a fun game.
Yeah.
So we're going to shift gears a little bit in the last 10 minutes or so. I want to talk about.
No rush, by the way.
Okay. I want to talk about the Charlotte Hornets.
Charlotte Hornets basketball back tomorrow, man.
Tomorrow, man.
Charlotte Hornets. Let's go, man.
I cannot wait. It's been a long time since the last time I was this excited was actually, and this is going to sound dumb, was when we picked up Lance Stevenson. I was like,
look, we were all excited. There was not one person except Rick Bunnell, rest in peace, who was not excited about Lance Stevenson.
He knew what was going to happen. That was the last time I was this excited about the Hornets. But there were some press conferences this week.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I like what I was hearing.
Dude, it seems like they're just such a cohesive unit so far. And I mean, I know we hadn't played a quarter basketball. I'm just saying, just judging from just the pressers and all the interviews, man, it just seems like everybody's on the same page so far.
Right.
Yeah.
James Bouknight during a press conference said the practices were, this is his quote, super intense.
Love it, man.
And he said Terry Rozier was
going at him.
Getting at him. Have we ever heard any Charlotte Hornets player in the 30-year history of Charlotte Hornets basketball say, man, those practices were super intense?
Nope.
Never.
Not one time.
Never. Have we ever heard of a vet going at a rookie to make him better?
Have we ever heard of a Charlotte Hornets team all practicing together in Miami or out of town during the offseason?
With Michael Jordan there, by the way. With the owner there,
right.
too. You got to feel like there's something special going on with this team. It was last season, it was so hard to not be a homer and watch LaMelo Ball play because I would look at that kid and be like,
we got one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, finally, we got the first superstar that we've had in 25 years.
Right.
Finally. I have no doubt that LaMelo Ball is going to be a superstar in
no
this
doubt
league.
in my mind, bro.
So,
I really don't.
I mean, I'm telling you, I watched – you guys in the chat know at least 5-6 times a game I go,
listen, let me speak to that, man. I may mention a bunch of times during last season how, and I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want anybody thinking I'm jumping the gun and saying I'm comparing him to said player. I have not seen a young player with those kind of instincts since LeBron James. I'm not comparing him to LeBron James. I don't want everybody to start going crazy. Like, man, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. The instincts, the natural basketball stuff, the stuff that you just alluded to. Like, when you look at him, you're like, how does a 19-year-old do stuff like that?
Yeah. Stuff that you don't even see vets.
Right. Do. That awareness, that instinct that you can't put your finger on,
I'm going to throw a full court length underhand pass
that's going to hit the guy right stride.
Yes. Nobody does that except for maybe like LeBron.
That's my point, man.
Yeah. So when I look at this team, also actually, Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
I've always liked Terry Rozier. I liked him when he was at Boston.
Yep.
I was very glad when the Hornets ended up
I
getting
told people
him.
he was a necessary signing.
Right.
Yep.
I've always been on his side when fans were hating on him.
And Bleacher Report saying it was the worst contract. Yeah.
And he has emerged as, I still think it's LaMelo's team, but Terry is.
He's the leader now.
He's the leader
now, man.
Team.
Yeah.
And I know LaMelo actually talked about being a leader. And I do think that on the court, it's still LaMelo's team. But we talked about this last season. We said the Hornets need a vet leader. And we weren't sure if Rozier was quite that guy. Rozier's that guy.
Yeah.
He got his money. He got his bag. He got his new contract.
And you can tell he's feeling pretty good about it.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing rap videos.
James Booknight. We're going to talk about that rap video again. James Booknight said, hey, to me, Terry Rozier is an all-star. And he said, if you don't think Terry Rozier is an all-star, I don't know what to tell you.
But, hey, man, let me ask you a question. Could that not be more of a perfect situation for Booknight?
God.
You know what I mean?
And, a lot of people were afraid that, well, we drafted Booknight, so that means we're going to trade
So
Terry.
that means we're trading Terry.
No, Terry's not going anywhere.
Terry's not going anywhere, man. No.
In fact, the Hornets, a lot of people forget, this coaching staff was hired because of why? Player development. They came out, the Hornets came out and said, player development has been our biggest issue for a decade plus. So we're building our staff around player development. So they got James Borrego, who is known for player development.
Right.
They got Jay Triano, who is known for player development.
Who's a savant with player development.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's so good at player development that he got fired from a head coaching job in Toronto, and the team said,
you know what? We can't let you go with that.
Hey,
come on back in it.
Why don't you stay as the president of player development? And he did. That's how good he is. So when they drafted James Booknight, they said, you know what? We can put him behind Terry.
That's brilliant.
And
dude.
Terry.
Come on, man. That's you can't ask.
That's why those guys coach in the NBA and we just host a podcast.
That's it, man. right.
That's.
I mean, dude, with that being said, we got preseason basketball coming up, man. Of course, stuff doesn't count. We don't want to start going crazy over preseason.
Rodney says we're not real Hornets fans. We're too optimistic. He's right. He's right.
He's right.
What am I thinking?
He's right. Hey, man, Tim C, hey, what are we talking about here, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, they're just playing for the 9th seed.
Speaking of that, let's really talk about that. Let's really, really talk about that, okay? Last season, obviously disappointing end to the season, okay? We go on that slide during the end of the season. We basically play ourselves out of the quote-unquote real playoffs. We make the playing game, okay? I said this last week, and I'm going to say it again. There's no way you're going to tell me that those players don't remember that. There's no way you're going to tell me that meeting in Miami was not a result of that last season.
Dog, that Indy game hurt.
It hurt.
You could see the players dap up after every game.
Mm-hmm.
Rozier ain't dap nobody up.
Miles Bridges walked directly off the court. Didn't speak to anybody.
Didn't talk to nobody. They was hurt.
Yeah.
They still hurt. They still thinking about that game against Indianapolis. I think the only barrier to the Hornets as far as playoff aspirations is that Chicago got really good.
They got good.
Washington got really bad. So I say, okay, if I take Washington out of the playoff mix and I insert Chicago, I think Chicago will be, on paper, dog.
But see, be careful with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why. Because what do we say every time we do? We're not going we're going to wait till Rodney gets back before we do our real season preview. But every year, and I'm not saying this as a diss, but everybody gets it wrong. Because you get what I'm saying?
No,
there's so many changes that happen through an 82-game season, so we never really
particularly
know,
when it comes to teams like Charlotte, Chicago.
We know who's going to be at the top.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Although, I don't have a lot of faith in Philly, man.
Philly's going through some changes, bro.
I always bring this up. When people talk about tanking, the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers had the same record in 2012. They were both bottom of the league.
And Toronto is anti-tanking.
Yes, Toronto chose not to tank. Philly tanked. One of those teams won a championship.
One of those teams didn't.
The other team cannot get out of the second round. Had 7 first-round draft picks. 4 of those were top 3 draft picks. Wow. Who do they have to show for it? Wow. Because Ben Simmons is gone.
Let's call him. Let's just say he's essentially gone.
They've essentially got Joel Embiid.
They got one guy out of the
to
deal.
show for tanking, who has played less games than Cody Zeller in the last 2 seasons. Tanking doesn't work.
Trust the process.
Tanking doesn't work.
Trust the real process, not tanking.
So I don't have a lot of faith in Philly. Ronnie says, is Chicago really good and Atlanta will come back to earth? I agree, because you do got to start paying people.
Atlanta's got they got a lot of guys that they're due.
Plus, Atlanta was a year or 2 ahead in their rebuild.
I got a bit of a hot take with Atlanta. I don't think John Collins is going to be there too much longer. Because the big guns are going to come calling. LeBron James is going to call John Collins in Tampa, and he will be a Los Angeles Laker. But not only that, man. Like there were some like really legit rumors flying around about how if the Hawks really want to invest in Collins for the long term, you know what I mean. And Collins turned down. I think he turned down the Hawks' first offer. I think they're offering him the max. Forgive me for not knowing this. I don't know if they re-sign him or plan to re-sign him, but either way, it's still going to affect that cap going down the road. Yeah. And if not for anything else, he's going to be the trade piece everybody's looking for off the Hawks.
The Hawks, they got to max him.
Right.
You got a team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals. You have a superstar in Trae Young. Trae Young made a big jump during the playoffs, and you have to continue to feed that. You can't let John Collins go, or at least not let him go for nothing.
Right.
So,
so payments come and due, basically.
They're gonna, payments come and due, but that affects a lot of other things. Atlanta's gonna. Hey, hopefully we'll be having this conversation about the Hornets in the next few years.
Oh, by the way, Booknight said he ain't backing down from Terry. By the way,
no.
He said he wasn't backing down.
Yeah, James going right back. He's going right back at Terry, which is good. Terry likes that. They're not like hazing these young guys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The way he talked about Terry Rozier in that press conference wasn't on some like, man, Rozier just all over me kind of stuff. Like Terry Rozier is like his best friend as far as he's concerned. The way he talked about Terry.
So tomorrow we got the Thunder. PJ Washington says he's kind of looking forward to playing with the new guys and seeing what everybody's strengths.
No, Tobias Harris ain't a superstar. Okay,
Tobias Harris is not a superstar. Tobias Harris is a really good basketball player. He is not a superstar. So tomorrow we open up against the Thunder, preseason action. PJ Washington says he's looking forward to playing with everybody. Basically, he says it may be sloppy to begin. What do we expect tomorrow? Again, not important preseason stuff, but we are excited about seeing our boys back on the court, though.
I expect to see a lot of the new guys, and that's about it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I specifically want to see Kai Jones.
I want to see Kai Jones. I want to see Kai Jones, Book Night. I want to see LaMelo just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. And I want to see Miles Bridges.
I want to see Gordon Hayward a little bit.
No, not during preseason.
You don't want to see that?
Not during preseason. You got bubble wrap that dude. You gotta lock him up.
So let's not even take the chance.
I would be shocked if Gordon Hayward played 30 seconds this preseason. I just don't.
You know what? Now that you say that, I can see Mitch. I can see Kupchak making a call like, no, that's not. No.
Yeah, JB, if you want to stay off the hot seat, you better.
You better keep that dude in the suit on the sideline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I expect to see a little bit of LaMelo, PJ, Miles, not a whole lot of Terry and Gordon.
Yeah.
A lot of Book Night, Kai Jones.
Yeah.
Thor and Kaboka. Did Thor make? I don't know if he's on this roster.
I don't know if he's on this roster or not. And that's going to be something interesting to look at going towards regular season.
I liked Thor in the summer league.
Love Thor in the summer league. Thor has one really big area of improvement he needs to make: shooting the basketball.
He likes to shoot it too. So get good at that.
If he learns how to shoot the basketball, he's going to be a really good basketball player, man. Yeah.
So I'm excited. for that game tomorrow.
I don't know if Chris Calloway is in the chat or not, man, but I know he's probably looking forward to Nick Richards. You know what I'm saying?
Man, yeah, hey, I was high on Nick Richards. I was glad to see that pick. I like natural 7-footers. I will never not like natural 7-footers.
Listen, man, I talk a lot of crap about Nick Richards, but I also believe they at least need to give him another season. I firmly believe that.
Rodney said, "Did Jello make the roster?" So anyway,
let's talk about that.
Okay, we'll spend a very short amount of time on that. I was actually surprised that he didn't get a training camp invite.
Me too. I'm not gonna
I thought
lie.
he would
Me
get
too.
a training camp invite, but not make the final roster and end up in Greensboro.
Right.
That kind of surprised me.
Yeah, same.
But having said that, I feel like the Hornets feel like they could get his production elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Which is true.
Yeah. And the only if the only upside to having Jello is that it makes LaMelo happy, okay, well, the problem is that the Hornets have some talented guys that deserve the time. One of the Martin twins is already gone. The one that nobody liked, he's gone, y'all.
Right.
So,
speaking of LaMelo, now do whatever you want to with this information, but when he was asked about Jello not being on the roster, he gave a very professional answer. It was like, yeah, it sucks, but it's basketball. Keep working. That was his answer.
Yeah, if LaMelo had said anything but that, I would have been disappointed in him.
Right.
When the Golden State Warriors cut Seth Curry,
right,
you didn't see Steph hanging his head down. In fact, he won the MVP that season. So, I mean, trust me, when the wins start accumulating, no one's going to be thinking about Jello Ball. Even LaMelo is not going to be thinking, I was Jello.
Because good basketball situations keep star players around, not their brothers, y'all.
However, having said that, I think that Jello will end up in Greensboro.
At some point.
Yeah, he'll play well there, and I think he'll get his shot in the NBA.
I think it's a long road.
It'll be, we've said this before.
Yeah.
It'll be the Seth Curry trajectories.
Another comparison people kind of make them is PJ Tucker, like maybe undersized to be a forward, but maybe a little oversized as a guard. So you kind of put him in that hybrid 3-4 position. A guy can knock down the corner three or whatever. But, with that being said, man, PJ Tucker, if I'm just speaking of this comparison in particular, PJ Tucker's tough defensively. PJ Tucker, he plays bigger than what he is. Can Jello do that? That's my question.
He'll carve out a role. Right. Everyone's like, well, he can shoot. I don't know.
That's it, though.
I don't know if being an elite shooter is even good enough in today's NBA because everybody can shoot.
Everybody can shoot the ball, honestly.
Right? So you got to be able to do something. I could see Jello being like remember CDR?
Yeah.
That kind of guy.
Yeah.
That kind of guy.
Yep.
That's where he's going to make his money in the NBA.
CDR, man.
Yeah, I took it back.
Bobcats days.
Took it back.
Wow.
He was a fan favorite, though.
I love CDR.
He played hard. That's why he had the roster spot. That's why guys like the Martin twins have roster spots. Because that's why guys like Jalen McDaniels have roster spots. Those guys play hard, and they bring a lot more than a single dimension.
Yeah. Quick little storyline that we'll probably following, now throughout.
Rodney said, why don't we go out and shoot since everybody can shoot? I'll shoot.
That's the one thing I can do. I'm fat, but I can shoot, man.
I can't. I blew my shoulder out. I'm old.
Real quickly, man, before we move on, man, one thing I'm going to look at going toward the regular season, there's going to be that one roster spot available, but they got about 4 players fighting for it. You know what I mean? So we'll see how that goes, man. What do you predict with that, if any? Tough to tell, right?
It's going to depend on how guys like McDaniels and Martin end up playing. And then guys like Kabolka and Thor. I think those guys have a lot of promise. And I kind of think the Hornets value them a little more than Jello Ball.
Yeah.
Jello Ball's saving grace is that he's LaMelo Ball's brother.
Right.
That's it. And that's the sad reality of the situation is that otherwise the Hornets wouldn't even be looking at him.
Right.
So, I do think, though, at some point during the season, they're going to call up some people from Greensboro. Jello might be one of those call-ups. I don't expect him to get a lot of playing time, in the NBA, though, once he gets called up. But we will see.
We will see.
All right. Shout outs, shout ats.
Shout out to Rodney. Hey man, see you next week, brother. We miss you, man.
That's right. Yeah, we might take it back to the bar.
I like this bar setup, man.
You know, for those of you who have been with us since like day one, over 2 years ago, we started out at the bar. Just some guys at the bar.
Yeah.
And eventually we kind of became big time and
start using tables and
stuff.
And fancy microphones at the table.
But I kind of like the bar thing. You guys let us know what you guys think about the bar.
Yeah, give us some feedback, y'all.
Go back to the table, we will. If we have guests, we'll go back to the table. Speaking of guests, Jerry V, man, we haven't talked to him in a minute.
Jerry V has to be on the show before the Hornets season starts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I really want to know what he has to think about, the Hornets in general, especially LaMelo Ball. You know, Jerry V's been in the game a long, long time.
Absolutely.
No shout at.
I got some shout outs.
Okay, go for it.
Cowboys fans, calm y'all ass down.
Oh, God.
You won your Super Bowl today. Congratulations. But we know how this movie ends. Calm down. That's it. That's my shout out.
I got nothing to say to Cowboys fans. I got nothing to say to Cowboys fans. I just okay. If you are a Cowboys fan in Charlotte,
my daddy was a Cowboys fan.
I don't want to hear that. I'm gonna tell y'all a real quick story about Cowboys fans. My daddy was actually a Cowboys fan because the Panthers didn't come around until 1995, and my dad grew up being a Cowboys fan. My dad's from Rock Hill, by the way. And when I say my dad was a Cowboys fan, he was a Cowboys fan,
a real one.
So my grandparents have a house in Fort Worth. And we went to visit them one year, and my dad went and did a tour. He got like his own private tour of the stadium that they used to play in back in Arlington. He bought all kinds of Cowboy stuff while he was in Fort Worth. He had bought a candle, Dallas Cowboys candle. He said he was going to burn it when the Cowboys won another championship. And they did. They won those 3 championships. And, he was a huge Cowboys fan. October 26, 1993.
I knew where this was going.
Paul Tagliabue says the NFL is awarding the franchise to the city of Charlotte. My dad, literally, I saw him go into I'll never forget this moment, went to his closet, took all his Cowboy stuff, and threw it in a garbage bag. Just threw it. The only thing he didn't throw away was there was a sweater, which was a really nice sweater that my sister wanted. He's like, you can have this. Right. Everything else, that candle, everything,
trash.
Threw it in the trash. I said that to say that you always got to root for the home team.
That's it, man. How can you not?
Root for the home team.
How can you not, man?
I'm a huge Minnesota Twins fan.
Why? Because we don't have a baseball team.
I'm
an Oakland A's fan, and people always ask me, how can you always talk about everybody else, but you're an Oakland A's fan? We have no MLB team here, people. And you best believe if that were to happen, goodbye Oakland A's with the quickness.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We got an MLB team, then my Twins jersey I give it to my kids. I think my kids actually stole it, which I don't. It's like they don't even watch baseball. And I don't even know who Kirby Puckett is. So yeah, shout out to them. Also, someone got shot at Airsley. Why y'all?
Why y'all? Why? It's not. People need stuff to do, man. Seriously, that's our culture topic. Why y'all keep shooting everybody?
There's nowhere in Charlotte you can go now and not get shot.
There's no possible. People, you know what? Like the people who are coming into Charlotte, they sometimes ask me, "Well, where's the nice side of town?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. You can get shot anywhere.
You can get shot anywhere. Anywhere.
It's a sad reality, man.
Yeah, maybe not Myers Park.
Maybe not Myers Park.
You might get Dilworth. You might not get shot up. Well, it depends on colors.
Well.
Okay. All right. Anyway, that was gonna end it for
that should end it right there.
Yep.
I think the beer's kicking in.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching, listening. You can listen to the podcast on all the major podcast platforms. Because that's why we have the dual mic set. We're recording for the podcast and streaming.
It's been fun, man.
Yeah,
back at the bar.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week. Keep pounding. Go Hornets.
Peace out.